I don't mean to alarm you, but we have a bit of a problem going on here. I myself am a disciple of punk-influenced high fashion. And the reason I do that is A, because I've been playing in punk and hardcore bands for my entire life, so it just kind of is my style. And B, I always found it to be a bit in opposition to the reigning trends of the day, of my entire life, really. But at this point, the inmates are running the asylum. Punk-influenced fashion is becoming the mainstream of fashion. And I guess in the end, that is no surprise. I mean, back in the day, rich people dressed rich, they would drive style, and the lower classes would then follow them, at which point the rich people would find a new style and the cycle would continue. But then something interesting happened, I would say in the 50s and then especially into the 60s with the counterculture movement. People from the lower classes, the common people, were being raised up to be the style icons of the day. Think about, musicians, artists, things like that. They weren't necessarily the richest, at least not at first, but they were the coolest. And suddenly it wasn't how wealthy or prestigious you were that was driving the style, it was how cool you were. Basically, cultural cachet, or to use a modern term, clout, was the driving factor for style as opposed to class. But then America entered an age of prosperity. Disco and cocaine were the pastimes of the day. And of course, with that being the scene that had the cultural cachet, style and fashion also moved in that direction. So think about like leisure suits and polyester taking over as the fabric of choice. Shiny satins, flowy open collars, gold.
I love gold!
High-waisted pants, of course. It was a real scene going on there. So I guess it's really no surprise that something would come out of the ether in opposition to that, and that is where punk came in. And if you think of punk as being in opposition to that, it really makes a lot of sense in terms of its style, right? It was kind of anti-fashion or anti-fashion of the day, often minimalist or like distressed or casual, kind of like streetwear as opposed to dressed up. It was utilitarian, much like the people who made up this scene. If you think of the people that were creating punk bands and stuff, they were probably from the lower and middle classes. They didn't necessarily have the means to go out and buy leisure suits, disco suits, not that they would want to. And the fabrics changed too to be much more organic, which makes sense with the DIY aesthetic that was so important at the time, because the punk movement, they're using cottons, distressed cottons, denims, right? Leathers. These are all natural products as opposed to the synthetics that were gaining a lot of popularity at the time. Of course, I'll sound like a broken record on this if you're a fan of the channel, but Vivienne Westwood was super important in bringing punk style to luxury fashion. Moving forward, Jean-Paul Gaultier started to influence some of that in his work. But really, for decades, I would say, punk to most designers was a subculture that they would dip into every once in a while just to grab a little thing or two, maybe for a piece or for a collection, and then they would move on to whatever was trendy, right? But it really feels like something has shifted in the past 5 years or so, I would say, where when I go into a metropolitan area where people are the most stylish, I see a lot of punks, for lack of a better word, or people that look like punks. And that's the thing, for pretty much my whole life, and I am getting older, right? I could look around and you kind of had like a punkdar, a radar for punks. You could look and be like, I see that guy, there's something about him, his tattoos, he's got gauges, a certain hairstyle, certain piercings, wearing certain clothes. Like, that is a person from the punk scene in some way, shape, or form. Nowadays, that radar is going off all the time, and it's usually wrong. And that is due in no small part to a lot of the designers that I've covered throughout my time doing videos on this channel. If you think about Balenciaga, right? I know that's kind of more rave wear, but Demna brought an era of like heavy distressing into fashion. If you think about Rick Owens, he's bringing a certain kind of like dark goth aesthetic, and goth was a subculture that came directly out of the punk movement. And of course, maybe most importantly, there is my beloved Enfant Riche Déprimé, which is a nihilist, elitist couture punk influence brand, heavily punk influence. They got their start doing insanely distressed, tattered t-shirts and hoodies and pants and things like that. And ever since then, they've been pushing the envelope more and more and more in terms of this kind of like street rat, junkie punk aesthetic. But the problem is, if you're looking for that aesthetic from these luxury brands, you're not gonna get it without a hefty chunk of change to pay for it, because these are truly high luxury brands for all intents and purposes, with price points to compete with, the Hermeses of the world. And that is simply not accessible to most people. If I think about all the people in my life, most of whom are through and through dyed-in-the-wool punks, they will never afford most of these pieces, but they still want to look stylish in the process. So today what we've got, I have a few pickups that I feel really speak to a punk-influenced fashion identity, but ones that you can get without paying ERD prices. I tried to get enough for essentially a full look. I've got a pair of pants right here, I have got a jacket, and I have got a t-shirt. All three of them are incredible, and I really hope when we put them all together that they look good, but we're gonna check out all the details of these pieces, see how I got them, how much I got them for, and of course at the end we'll see how they all look in isolation and together. So don't go anywhere, stick around, let's get into it. I'm excited. It's really not every day that we get to build an entire fit that you could put together yourself without going into bankruptcy, or at the very least without having to tighten the old waistband, for a few months while you recover. So we've got all the basics here. We've got a t-shirt, some pants, and a jacket, and then later on we'll put a full fit together with some other affordable pieces. Affordable, it's all relative, right? I'm saying affordable, but it's definitely not affordable to most people, but within the realm of things that I talk about, it's pretty affordable. You get it, I know. All right, let's go small to big, right? We'll work our way up. Let's start with the simplest piece and the cheapest of the bunch. Jesus Christ, I love these guys. I really, really love these guys. They're doing it right. So this shirt, this is the Heroin Addict t-shirt, obviously, but it is by a brand called Blind Date. Would I even call them a brand? I mean, I guess they make stuff, but really they are primarily luxury archive resellers, but they make stuff that is as good as anything else on the market. Now, I can already see the comments, okay? They're gonna say, oh my God, this is just trashy, lame, slapdash thrown together ERD, worship, whatever. Yeah, definitely, it has a lot of overlap aesthetically with Enfant Riche de Primé, but there is a lot of cultural cachet held within here, way more than most of the other imitators, because the Heroin Addict was an early zine by the filmmaker Richard Kern, who was important in the early 80s New York scene, Sonic Youth, all this stuff. So he had his zine called The Heroin Addict, turned into The Valium Addict. He's made all sorts of films perverse, violent, erotic, and it's all held up within this. So I think there is a strong and relevant and cool, hip cultural reference held within this. So even though it looks just like a ripoff of, I don't know, the ERD, dead porn stars t-shirt or something, there's actually a lot more cultural relevance within this, in the history of the punk movement. So I really love the reference, but I also really love what Blind Date does here with the piece itself. So for the price, their tees are $80. Oh my God. They are cut and sewn by Blind Date in studio in California. For that price, that's actually really insane. It is the softest, most paper-thin fabric. I love it so much. The distressing is all done really, really well. It's totally thrashed and wrecked in a way that I love. And one thing that I really like about Blind Date is that they've been doing these in 100% rayon, where most brands, they copy ERD, they do it in paper-thin cotton, but they're kind of putting their scent. They're no, we think rayon is the way to go with this. Size 2, by the way. So I'm all about this. I think Blind Date, they're doing the Lord's work. They're making affordable, thrashed, punk-influenced kind of ERD-esque stuff, but also with some Japanese archive in there. There's lots of references thrown in. And they're doing it for the people, which is not, most luxury archive resellers are not for the people. I can tell you from experience, but Blind Date, they're good people. I try to support them. In the description, you can find a code to get 10% off for people like from my community. I don't even get a kickback from that, at least not as far as I know. I just think Blind Date, they're good dudes, and if you want to get a little money off, you can use the code. All right, let's move it along. Before we get to this giant bag here, we've got our pants, and as you can see, they're good ones. Even my cat loves them. So my cat is a budget hunter, okay? Griffey? Hey, pal? Did you fucking hear that? How fucking cute is that? He's old. He's ancient. All right, I'm really loving the look of these already. Let's get them hung up. Before we get into this segment, I want to read you a quote from Henry Alexander Levy, the designer behind punk-inspired brand Enfant Riche de Primé. He said, "You see Diesel, the brand Diesel, and all these brands doing these mock punk jackets, and they look super pussy. These aren't kids in the streets going to shows. These are people having a meeting about trying to make a line that looks punk. It's ridiculous." Well, my friends, when Henry Levy said that, he was talking about this. Because this is a leather pair of pants from the 2000s era of the brand Diesel. They were very much putting together like a punk forward look at the time. You know, Balmain was popping off with Christophe de Carnot. It was kind of like in the ether, you know? But here's the thing. Henry was wrong. In retrospect, this stuff is solid, it's cool, it's fun, it's doing interesting stuff, and it's doing it well. This is a very luxurious, oiled piece of leather here. Like, look at that. Look at the pores of the skin. I love it. And the cut holds up so well. It's so modern, the way the legs flare out like this. Gorgeous. I get it. Diesel are not like authentically punk, but here's the difference, okay? I have a pair of ERD leather pants right here. At the time that I bought them, they were going in like the $1,000 range. Today, you'd probably be paying more like $2,000. These Diesel leather pants right behind me, I got them for under $100. Now, part of that is unquestionably the fact that these were made in China, but they are 100% real leather, size 28, by the way. We'll talk about sizing later on. You get what you pay for in a sense, but the fact that like Diesel pricing has not held up over time on these is great for somebody looking for deals, you know? And the construction is so similar to those ERD jeans. It's got the same kind of like paneling right across the knee, except it flares out, whereas the ERD ones I have are slim, and a flared cut is just kind of what's in right now, you know? But it's a zip closure, which I personally prefer. You get some branded metal hardware there, like very 2000s Diesel logo in there. You obviously get the Diesel branding at the fifth pocket right here, the baby pocket, and some very fun 2000s stuff going on at the back here, right? That's like the classic Diesel embroidery at the back of the pockets, and this little tag right there, very like Y2K, you know? I also really love this like burgundy lining right here. That also reads as like very ERD to me. So sure, maybe whoever made this piece was not like authentically punk, but I think the authenticness of the punkness of it comes from the wearer and not the creator a lot of times. And I've been playing in punk and hardcore bands since I was 12 years old, so I'm gonna give this the punk pass, okay? F y'all. All right, my last piece of advice is that you can get modern stuff, just maybe don't get the absurdly hyped stuff. Like, most brands do not operate like Enfant Riche de Primé or Chrome Hearts. For most brands, it's pretty simple. They release stuff, it's really expensive, and then the price goes down from there. So you can either get it on sale at the end of the season or get it on resale markets like Grailed or whatever for much, much cheaper. And that's what we have here. All right, so this is our jacket for the day. And this one is by a brand called Second Layer. Oh my God, can you focus? Second/Layer, like all put together. And this is a really interesting brand because they are quite hip, you know? They're sold at a lot of the same stockists as ERD. Like if you go into Patron of the New or Departamento, these places, they're also selling Second Layer. And they're one of the brands at the forefront of the like modern LA insurgence into the world of fashion. It's got like a very California type of relaxed minimalism, but also with a hard edge to it. Like I see a lot of similarities to the work of people like Eddie Slama at Saint Laurent, things like that. And I think you can probably see that in some of the details. But this is a piece that price-wise started at a couple grand when they first released it to boutiques. I'm sure it went on sale at various places from there, but I got this one on the RealReal. I had a little coupon, so in the end, the final price for me was $250. And for that price, the details are absolutely staggering. First of all, love the embroidered, like, burning cross. That's how I'm interpreting it at the chest. My wife saw this and she was like, people are going to think you're just like a crazy Christian. I'm like, no, it's an ironic cross. It's an anti-cross, okay? But you can probably see while we're here, it's a beautiful deep green color with like a lot of brown in it. I really love the color to it. The fabric is fantastic. It feels great. I'm really curious to see what it's made out of, but probably like my favorite part, obviously my favorite part, is what's going on at the collar here. It is a leather collar and that skin is really high quality, you can tell. And then you've got these like claw studs going on at the edge of the collar here. That is so dope. It's almost like a pierced thing. How sick is that? I think it looks so damn good. And the shape of this thing just does it for me. It's kind of like a coach's jacket type of cut, like a casual type of jacket, but it's like cropped with this elasticated waist and these arms, they're really relaxed. They kind of flow. They're drapey with these really cool, almost like military-esque barrel cuffs. It's just really well made. And like the lining, so soft, so well tailored. You've got like these logos going on all over. So I've got to know, like, where do they make this stuff? What's it made out of? Because it feels like a legit luxury product here. All right, so it's tagged a size 48, so that should be like a men's medium. And then this piece was made in Italy. The fabric is Japanese. Holy crap. This is like really high end. Okay. All right. So the main fabric is like a poly viscose. So that's how they're getting that kind of nice combo of luxury, but also like casual ease. So I'm down with it. And the collar, 100% leather, and the inside, the lining, Cupro, viscose. Yeah, that's good stuff. You know, there's some poly in there. There's some poly, but I understand why they used it. It's that kind of like almost athleisure element that they're throwing in. But like if you zoom in on that, beautiful like green twill. Whew, it feels good. So this is a brand with the same like cool factor of ERD. All the cool kids who stock for all of these cool shops, they're into second layer. And you can get this stuff for 1/10 what you would get a similar ERD jacket for in the end. All right, I'm really liking what I'm seeing with these pieces. I think every single one of them is really good and could hold up against the most expensive punk influence closet out there. But the details are only half the battle. We've got to know how they look, how they feel, how they fit. So let's put the fit together. I'm psyched. We've got like pretty much a whole fit here already, and I think it's going to look good. So all we really need outside of like random accessories and stuff like that is a pair of shoes. So we can go with these leather Doc Martens brogues. I love these things. I wear them all the time. I think they'll add like, that's kind of punk. It feels like UK punk, but also a little bit refined at the same time. And these you could probably get for like, I don't know, you get them for $80 easy, but if you're trying to like make offers and wheel and deal, I bet more like 50. So like if you're looking at this entire fit right here, you're looking at like $450 to $500. You can barely get an ERD t-shirt for that. So I know sometimes it seems like all hope is lost, but there are options out there for you. But let's see if they're good options. All right, so here's where the rubber meets the road. I know we spent a lot less on this outfit, but can it hold up against an outfit that costs $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, which a lot of these like all ERD outfits, if you were to wear an all ERD outfit, top to bottom, minimum, that's like a $3K outfit, maximum 50 grand, you know what I mean? All right, let's start with the pants. The leather diesel pants, vintage, you love to see it, oiled black leather, flared leg, very kind of in vogue right now. And again, I paid less than $100 for these. I don't know about you, but even like local thrift stores in my area would be charging $50 at least for these just on the rack from like a fast fashion brand or something, you know? And putting them on, I really, really like these. I think these are fantastic. I really like the cut. The leather that they've used and the way they've treated it is awesome. The lining on the inside is really soft, but also makes it feel really warm as well. Like there's a nice layering effect that you get out of that. And I think the fit is fantastic. I really like how it fits around the midsection and then flares out, of course, at the legs. Remember, this one was tagged a size 28, and I would say it fits like a 29 or maybe just like a slim 30, so it's about right. I could probably do with the inseam being like 3/4 of an inch longer. That would make it like absolutely perfect for me, but like, are we really gonna complain over 3/4 of an inch, you know what I mean? So yeah, for a pair of pants that is probably, I'm gonna guess that these are at least 15 years old, probably more at this point, they look shockingly relevant and up to date. And just leather pants, they're sexy, you know what I mean? You can't deny it. All right, real quick, let's move on and look at these shoes. These are the Doc Martens leather brogues. And the cool thing about these, and the thing that makes them have like a punk edge, is that it has the same sole as the classic Doc Martens boots, but in more of like a dressy work shoe type of silhouette. But the thing is, Doc Martens is as punk as it gets. I know in the modern age, like they've been bought and sold and acquired and the quality has dropped or whatever, but despite all of that, Doc Martens has been a mainstay of punk and punk-influenced fashion literally since the beginning, the earliest days of punk rock. I really dig these. I like the juxtaposition of, the dressy silhouette with the Doc Martens sole. Punk, of course, has always had a lot of connections to, the working class, the labor movement, unions, things like this, and it all feels of a piece when you're wearing a pair of shoes like these. All right, I'm really excited to check this one out. This is the Blind Date Heroin Addict t-shirt, again, based off that kind of like early like Sonic Youth no wave era. At this point, I'm also gonna kind of throw on some accessories and things. I've got a nice long sterling silver ERD Iron Cross necklace and just a bunch of rings from Chrome Hearts and ERD, just like my normal stack. But this t-shirt is like hot fire. It ticks all the boxes for me. One thing I'll say, and this is something I didn't realize, I just kind of intuitively knew it, I have always really liked a kind of like baby doll or like shortened men's sleeve on a t-shirt. I really like when ERD does it with their raglan sleeve t-shirts and you get that kind of flare up at the bicep, and they're doing that even more so here in this Blind Date tee. I don't know where they got this super soft, super thin rayon jersey that they're using for the fabrication, but it feels so good. My God. It's soft as all hell. It drapes beautifully, and the way that it distresses once it gets these holes in it, it's perfect. I don't know, it's just like the weight is different. It kind of has that silkiness. You know when you wear silk in a silk jersey and it kind of like sticks to you in a certain way? You get that with this too, and I really like it. Of course, the design is really striking, really in your face. It would offend many, many people, and I kind of like that kind of thing. Can't deny it. But I really think they've just like hit the mark on this one in all categories. All right, I'm psyched because it is time for the second layer jacket. Again, this is the first second layer piece. That is a mouthful. I have never had a piece by second layer before. I've seen them in these boutiques as I've gone and visited. I've checked it out, I've felt it. The materials feel really good, the quality seems quite good, and the prices, even in general at a starting retail price, is generally a bit better than some of the other brands that these hype luxury boutiques stock. So putting it on, I really dig this thing. First, I'm just gonna leave the shirt untucked and hanging out. The jacket is shorter than the shirt, and it does give a kind of like, I don't know, very casual, don't give a fuck kind of punk rock type of vibe. Like somebody who is thinking about this more, they'd be like, no, you can't have the undershirt going outside of the jacket. But here, I'm just gonna leave it for a bit and, I vibe it. Obviously, the first thing you're gonna notice is those like claw studs at the collar on the leather. I really like that. I also really like the color. It's popping against the rest of these pieces, and I wasn't sure if it would. But even more so than all of that, the biggest thing I'm noticing is how good it feels. The quality feels incredible. It's got like an ease, and it breathes, it moves in a way that I really haven't felt from a jacket in a long time. It actually reminds me quite a bit in terms of like quality and material usage of some Saint Laurent pieces of like light outerwear that I've seen and tried on and things. And that's high praise. I mean, that's a very good brand that people really respect. And I mean, we saw that this jacket, the materials are from Japan and it's constructed in Italy. It's very clearly a high quality piece. So what I really get out of this is that it's like the highest end form of like a All Saints or a Rag & Bone or something, and then moving up, of course, like the Saint Laurent type brands of the world, where it is not overtly punk rock and not trying to be punk rock, but it is kind of like a chill, minimalist California type of vibe with this punk edginess being thrown in around the edges. But then if I were to tuck this shirt in and like zip this up, get a more like clean cut, tailored type of look out of it, I really dig it. It feels a lot cleaner this way and a bit more considered and thought out. And that zip up with the crop of the hem on the jacket makes it feel like very luxurious in a weird way. So I don't know how something can like look luxurious compared to how it feels like it, but this hits the mark there. I'm definitely curious to check out more second layer pieces in the future. If any of you out there have had any of their pieces and want to suggest them, or if you've had poor experiences with any of their stuff, I would love to know it. Let me know down in the comments, and let me know if you think I pulled it off, if these are good choices. All right, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below if you have any preferences on any of these pieces, if you have other suggestions for brands or designers or eras that people should be looking at if they're into this stuff. Check out the other video that's on screen here. Like, comment, do all these engagement-y things that help me in the YouTube algorithm, and I'll see you next time.